Good afternoon, everybody. This is Veronica, today sharing with you a wonderful, beautiful section of A Course in Miracles. This is chapter 5, section 3. It's called The Guide to Salvation, and I was reading it this morning, and I just found it to be absolutely outstanding, and I just wanted to share it with you all because it really speaks to the fact of that law of the mind, which is as you see him, you will see yourself. And obviously Jesus is not talking about how you see someone with your body's eyes, because your body's eyes will always see form, but it's how you think about them. Once again, the Course is not talking to us as bodies, it's talking to us as mind. Therefore, when it uses the term sees, it means how you think of someone. And in this section in which it relates to the Holy Spirit, it's giving us like all these tidbits of information that all fit together in why it is that you want to see the Holy Spirit in your brother, why it is that you want to identify the Holy Spirit in your brother, and beyond their body, remember the reality of the Holy Spirit, which is the only thing that connects them to the truth, and that is your own truth. Therefore, the more that you see it in others, that is what you will be telling yourself. That is the education that you're going to be giving yourself about who you are. And it's extremely important. And we will read a little bit of why, and it's just magnificent. So it's called The Guide to Salvation, and it says, the way to recognize your brother is by recognizing the Holy Spirit in him. I have already said that the Holy Spirit is the bridge for the transfer of perception to knowledge, so we can use the terms as if they were related, because in his mind they are. This relationship must be in his mind, the relationship between perception and knowledge. Because unless it were, the separation between the two ways of thinking would not be open to healing. In other words, the Holy Spirit understands them both. He is part of the Holy Trinity because his mind is partly yours and also partly God's. This needs clarification, not in statement, but in experience. The Holy Spirit is the idea of healing. One of the wonderful things about chapter 5 is it talks a lot about the Holy Spirit. So if you're ever wondering to know more, in previous sections it was talking about how the Holy Spirit was God's answer to separation and how he came about at the same time as the separation with its principle of the atonement. And yeah, it's a really, really wonderful chapter. So, the Holy Spirit is the idea of healing. Being thought, the idea gains as it is shared. So everywhere where the Course is talking to us about giving and about sharing, it's talking about the ideas in your mind. Because once again, it's talking to you as mind and not as body. So it's saying that the Holy Spirit being thought, the idea gains as it is shared. So the more I share the idea of the Holy Spirit with others, meaning that I think of them as the Holy Spirit, the more that idea strengthens within myself. Being the call for God, it is also the idea of God. Since you're a part of God, it is also the idea of yourself, as well as of all his creations. Those are his creations in heaven, which are your creations in heaven. The idea of the Holy Spirit shares the property of other ideas because it follows the laws of the universe of which it is a part. That is the universe of God, which is his same thought, not the universe of time and space as we know it. So the idea of the Holy Spirit shares the property of other ideas because it follows the laws of the universe of which it is a part, and that is the law of giving. It is strengthened by being given away. It increases in you as you give it to your brother. Your brother does not have to be aware of the Holy Spirit in himself or in you for this miracle to occur. He may have dissociated the call for God, just as you have. That's what Jesus talks about in earlier sections, where he says that the separation was a dissociation from God. We dissociated from who we really were. So that's why he's using that again. The dissociation is healed in both of you as you become aware of the call for God in Him, and thus acknowledge its being. Once again, this dissociation is healed in both of you as you become aware of the call for God in Him, and thus acknowledge its being. There are two diametrically opposed ways of seeing your brother. They must both be in your mind because you are the perceiver, the decision maker. They must also be in his because you are perceiving him. To see him through the Holy Spirit in his mind, see him through the Holy Spirit in his mind, and you will recognize him, the Holy Spirit, in yours. So this is what I was talking about in the beginning. See him through the Holy Spirit in his mind. So it's like I'm seeing my brother as the Holy Spirit would see him, and therefore I recognize the Holy Spirit within myself. What you acknowledge in your brother, you acknowledge in yourself. And what you share, you strengthen. And this is why we need to do this and why it works if we do it. The voice of the Holy Spirit is weak in you. That is why you must share it. You must use this method of thinking. It must be increased in strength before you can hear it. So if I'm not hearing the Holy Spirit within myself, the easiest way to hear it would be to see the Holy Spirit in another. That is how I will strengthen its voice and be able to hear it. It says, it is impossible to hear it, the Holy Spirit in yourself, while the Holy Spirit, it, is so weak in your mind. It is not weak in itself, but it is limited by your unwillingness to hear it. And this is a very important thing that we're going to read in just now. This is very important. If you make the mistake of looking for the Holy Spirit in yourself alone, your thoughts will frighten you because by adopting the ego's viewpoint, you're undertaking an ego alien journey with the ego as guide. This is bound to produce fear. So, if you're ever trying to look for the Holy Spirit within yourself and you find yourself at odds where you're not finding it and that voice is really far away, the likeliness is that you're just looking for the Holy Spirit within yourself and you have forgotten that it's everywhere and it's in everybody. And by including or expanding that awareness to knowing that the Holy Spirit is in everything, now you have kind of a vision that resembles oneness. And then the Holy Spirit will be able to be found. But you can't find it from your own individuality, if that makes sense. It has to include everyone because that's what the Holy Spirit is. It's all inclusive. It's the vision for God, which is all. So I'm going to read it again. If you make the mistake of looking for the Holy Spirit in yourself alone, your thoughts will frighten you Because by adopting the ego's viewpoint, which is a viewpoint of separation and of loneliness, of the idea that I am on my own, you're undertaking an ego alien journey, right? It's alien to the ego to seek for the Holy Spirit with the ego as guide. So you're trying to get to truth by using ego means, so it will not work. And I can identify with this a lot because it happens where the ego tricks you into thinking, oh yeah, I'm just going to find this peace for myself and it's within myself, and you kind of block everything else around you. And that's the wrong perspective, in the sense that no, it's including all of it. And when you include all of it, it's like the fear goes away. So I invite you to practice that, because what he's saying, it's a very common and easy mistake to make, yet also easily correctable. Delay is of the ego because time is its concept. Both time and delay are meaningless in eternity. I have said before that the Holy Spirit is God's answer to the ego. Everything of which the Holy Spirit reminds you is in direct opposition to the ego's notions, because true and false perceptions are themselves opposed. The Holy Spirit has the task of undoing what the ego has made. And this is also important. He undoes it at the same level on which the ego operates, or the mind would be unable to understand the change. Meaning, it undoes the ego at the level of the mind. Then he says, I have repeatedly emphasized that one level of the mind is not understandable to another. And he will further explain this. It continues saying, so it is the ego, so is it with the ego and the Holy Spirit, with time and eternity. Eternity is an idea of God, so the Holy Spirit understands it perfectly. Time is a belief of the ego, so the lower mind, which is the ego's domain, accepts it without question. The only aspect of time that is eternal is now. So, the Holy Spirit undoes the idea of the ego at the same level on which the ego operates, which is in the lower mind, which is the ego's domain. And it unveils it by our recognition of the Holy Spirit in our brother, because it's sort of the act of canceling out the miscreations of the mind, which start by believing in the ego and the separation with God, and restating oneness, which is the only thing that is true. The Holy Spirit is the mediator between the interpretations of the ego and the knowledge of the Spirit. Now, I love this. His ability to deal with symbols, right? The Holy Spirit deals with our illusions, uses our illusions to guide us to truth, enables him to work with the ego's beliefs in its own language. And this is what he's saying, he undoes it at the same level on which the ego operates. It deals with the ego. And it says, his ability, the Holy Spirit's, to look beyond symbols into eternity enables him to understand the laws of God for which he speaks. He can therefore perform the function of reinterpreting what the ego makes, not by destruction, but by understanding. Understanding is light, and light leads to knowledge. The Holy Spirit is in light because he is in you who are light, but you yourself do not know this. It is therefore the task of the Holy Spirit to reinterpret you on behalf of God. So it's like he reinterprets us within the ego identity that we think that we have, dispels it, and restores to us the memory of what we truly are. But obviously, that requires our willingness. And that willingness, once again, starts with seeing the Holy Spirit in our brothers. And before you even do that, it's very helpful to recognize how much you want to see your brother as a body, how much you don't want to see him as spirits. And once you see that, right? So instead of covering up the desire of the identification for the body, you actually look at it, then you're not afraid of it anymore. You're not running away from that fearful, mortifying thought. Because deep down, you recognize that your brother is not really that. But through your ego identification in your mind, you want to see him as a body. So by being able to look at your unwillingness to see the spirit and your objectivity to just see the body, you look at your own choice, at the choice you have made, right? And you once again remember, wow, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, I really don't want to see my brother as not a body. I want to see him as a body, and I want to see him as a body. So it's like I must be able to recognize what it is I'm choosing right now in order to make a different choice. Because if I don't recognize the choice that I'm making right now, and I just kind of put a cover of holiness over it, it doesn't really work. Because my true willingness is necessary. And that true willingness works at a deeper level in which I really remember I'm the decision maker. And right now I'm being aware of my ultimate desire to see my brother as a body, but I recognize how insane that is and how ego-based that is and how it just, that desire really just wants to permeate and strengthen the idea of the separation within myself. And I'm like, okay, no, that is not what I really want. And now I can look past it, past the illusions, to the reality of my brother, which resides in the Holy Spirit within himself. So that idea of recognizing your own resistance is incredibly helpful to move on to the further steps of this process. You cannot understand yourself alone. This is because you have no meaning apart from your rightful place in the sonship. And the rightful place of the sonship is God. This is your life. This is your real life, your eternity and yourself. It is of this that the Holy Spirit reminds you of. It is this that the Holy Spirit sees. This vision frightens the ego because it is so calm. Peace is the ego's greatest enemy because according to its interpretation of reality, war is the guarantee of its survival. The ego becomes strong in strife. If you believe there is strife, you will react viciously because the idea of danger has entered your mind. The idea itself is an appeal to the ego. But now if we invite the Holy Spirit in, this is what we'll see. The Holy Spirit is as vigilant as the ego to the call for danger, opposing it with his strength, just as the ego welcomes it. The Holy Spirit counters this welcome by welcoming peace. Eternity and peace are as closely related as are time and war. Perception derives meaning from relationships. Those you accept are foundations of your belief. Perception derives meaning from relationships. Those you accept are the foundations of your belief. The separation is merely another term for a split mind. The ego is the symbol of separation. Now that's the relationship we have invested in. Just as the Holy Spirit is the symbol of peace. What you perceive in others, you are strengthening in yourself. Meaning, if I perceive my brother's own devotion to his own ego, I'm strengthening my own devotion in my own ego. So it's always about shifting my focus, what it is that I'm thinking about. It doesn't mean that I don't respond appropriately to the crazy acts, ego-based acts of others, but it means that I know that that's not what they are, and I don't identify them as that. I still recognize it as a call for love, which is what the Holy Spirit would want me to see. What you perceive in others, you are strengthening in yourself. You may let your mind misperceive, but the Holy Spirit lets your mind reinterpret its own misperceptions. I always have another choice. I can always change my mind about how I see my brother. The Holy Spirit is the perfect teacher. He uses only what your mind already understands to teach you that you do not understand it. The Holy Spirit can deal with a reluctant learner without going counter to his mind, because part of it is still for God. This is beautiful. Despite the ego's attempt to conceal this part, it is still much stronger than the ego, although the ego does not recognize it. In many parts it's been said that the Holy Spirit and the ego do not know each other. The Holy Spirit recognizes it perfectly because it is his own dwelling place. The place in the mind where he is at home. You are at home there too, because it is a place of peace, and peace is of God. You who are a part of God are not home except in his peace. If peace is eternal, you are at home only in eternity. I love how Jesus uses logic. The ego made the world as it perceives it, but the Holy Spirit, the reinterpreter of what the ego made, sees the world as a teaching device for bringing you home. The Holy Spirit must perceive time and reinterpret it into timelessness. He must work through opposites because he must work with and for a mind that is in opposition. Correct and learn and be open to learning. You have not made truth, but truth can still set you free. Look as the Holy Spirit looks, and understand as he understands. His understanding, this is what it is, looks back to God in remembrance of me, Jesus. He is your guide to salvation because he holds the remembrance of things past and to come and brings them to the present. And that past and to come is talking about the past, which was heaven, and which is to come when we return to heaven, and brings them to the present. So in your mind, it dawns the memory of that present, which is the only thing that really exists, because in reality it's never been a past and it will never be a future. It has always been now. He holds his gladness gently in your mind asking only, so this is the whole thing of this section, asking only that you will increase it in his name by sharing it to increase his joy in you. And again, that sharing is how I see my brother, that I may see my brother through the Holy Spirit in him and recognize only the perfect creation of God, which has nothing to do with the universe of time and space, that it's spirit in its totality, in its wholeness, unlimited, absolutely beautiful, pristine, unchangeable. So that's our homework. You can totally take each section of the course and make it, of the text, and make it a lesson of itself. It's very beautiful. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I hope that this is helpful. That little part where I made a big emphasis on, to me, has been a game changer. Where it says, if you make the mistake of looking for the Holy Spirit in yourself alone, your thoughts will frighten you, because by adopting the ego's viewpoint, you're undertaking an ego-alien journey with the ego as guide. This is bound to produce fear. That was very, very helpful to me, because I realized that I wasn't doing that. I was just looking for peace within myself and forgetting that, wait a minute, no, if peace is real, it's got to include everything. And therefore you expand that vision, that presence of the Holy Spirit to everyone that's around you, and therefore you strengthen it in yourself and realize that you're not just a piece of God, you're the entirety of God, because that's what you're seeing in your brother. The entirety, the Holy Spirit is the entire remembrance of God in its wholeness. Like when you see a brother that way, you're remembering the absolute oneness, not just a piece of it. Because if you see it as just a piece of the oneness, then you will feel like just a piece of the oneness. And that's limiting, because that's not who you are. You're not a piece of it, you're all of it. So there's the importance of how we look at our brothers and the opportunity that they give us to remember who we really are. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I will be with you in another recording soon. In the meantime, you can check out the page on Facebook. It's called The Frequency of Happiness - Veronica Mejia. I post a lot of things regarding the course, daily lessons, videos, audios, etc. You can also book services under the services tab and write me any comments, messages, anything that you like. Thank you. I love you. All of my love. Seeing you like the Holy Spirit would see you. And I'll see you next time.